And then that's when we got things like the World Economic Forum. I think that one of their jobs was to get them early and control them early. Some they compromised early. It's much, one of the things I found out about the entertainment business is if you get someone young and you groom them, your ability to control them going into the future is much easier for a couple of reasons. Number one, when people are young, and particularly if they're naive or maybe underexposed, they don't know when they're being groomed. That's yeah. And so by the time they realize that they've been groomed and exploited, they really have only a couple of choices. Continue to do it with all of the perks that come along with being dead inside, if you will. Or you just walk away completely, but then you realize that these people are so powerful that you can only really do sort of ordinary or self-made things. And there's nothing wrong with either one of those, but sometimes you can get addicted. And I think that's a lot of what happens to people in the entertainment business. You'll hear some of the people that are now talking about it, and you have to find these stories. They don't jump out at you on TMZ, that they'll say, people in the entertainment business, child stars, well, if you don't do it, somebody else will. There's always going to be somebody else who wants to have all this fame and fortune. And if you get them young enough, they know nothing else. They've never known anything else their entire life. So this became an operation of grooming. So this is how I believe we went from having at least partially corrupted group of unperfect, sort of damaged, questionable character people who did mean well. They were just wrong types, I guess, to having an entirely corrupt system. It was because everyone who was being elevated, or maybe not everyone, I'm not going to say everyone because I don't think it was everyone, but you don't need everyone. The other people just become like marginalized lone voices in the night. And even today, we know who those people are. Those people who are fiercely independent, even within their own party. And I'm not criticizing or standing up for them. I think that for right now, I see Donald Trump as working with the system that he got. I actually think that there is a scenario where the entire Epstein thing is to make everyone start demanding and calling for it just because they think he never will. And I don't think that that's true of the MAGA people, but now you got people on the Democrat side and in the mainstream media criticizing him for this because they think it's a weakness. And I hear, although I don't know it to be true, that Trump is a fan of Sun Tzu. That's like pure Sun Tzu. Now, I'm not saying it is or it isn't because I don't know. And I don't even really know that much about it. However, if I was going to pull a Sun Tzu, yeah, this would be classic. it, you know, Trump has made the Democrat Party destroy theirself. And he really didn't have to do that much. All he had to do was call out what they were already doing and what they already were, and then force them to defend it. And he actually took away from them all of the policies that they were able to run on. So the only thing they had left was to lie. Like, for example, by going forward and saying, we're not going to touch Social Security and Medicare, he forced them in a position of just doubling down on the fact that he's going to kill all of your grannies, I mean, and they sound ridiculous. It's kind of like, he forced them so far left just because they had to be anti-Trump. So this would be a perfect example and would fit perfectly into that pattern. And I'm all about people's patterns. Usually when a pattern changes, even if you're just talking about on a quilt, if you're looking, you can find it and you'll be like, oh, that one's different. That one doesn't match. Well, it's the same with people and their actions. I don't, I don't accept abrupt changes in a person's actions if they reflect a completely different pattern and I cannot detect the change in pattern. So that may not make sense to a lot of people, but if you just think of it as any pattern, if you X's, 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 and then you see an O, that's dramatic. It doesn't fit the pattern and you will recognize it immediately. So what's going on with the Epstein file, it's not just that they're saying we're not releasing anything else. So it's about, as Tucker Carlson said, it's about how they're doing it. And the way that they're doing it is so natural and so familiar to Democrats. Okay, this is how they act. So this feels natural to them. They think they know what's going on, but these are not people who can see patterns. I'm the type of person who reads their patterns. And so trusting and knowing that they actually can't see it. And by the way, being able to see patterns is not a Democrat-Republican thing. It's an individual thing. Some people can see them. Some people can make a conclusion without the benefit of patterns. The benefit of patterns is just to be able to predict people's behavior, because you can come to your own conclusions about different policies without dealing with patterns. I think the people that are least able to read patterns are the ones that think that the Democrats are going to actually do anything that they ever say they're going to do. However, aside from that, if you can't see the pattern of lying and just know and understand that that doesn't change. In fact, the Democrats have become so radical that if you don't want to go along with their pattern, you more or less have to leave the party. You're not allowed to stay. So that's dramatic in itself. If you look at what happened with the DNC, with Joe Biden, they literally were canceling elections, canceling people, canceling everything, because they were simply not going to accept any divergence from what they were telling you had to do. So some people will not recognize that as a pattern. They'll just recognize that they don't fit and they'll move on. But if I look at people's patterns, I can predict with a great degree of accuracy. And when I know people personally, it's even more of a great degree of accuracy. I have some stories that would be shocking. And, maybe at some point in time when I'm more technologically advanced, I will invite some of the people on, if they're interested, to tell about how I predicted things in their life, very granular things, which were to me obvious, but to them weren't. Because I think if it had been obvious to them, they would have done something different and changed the pattern so they could change the outcome. But some of them didn't. And there's a couple people actually who over a period of time, they've refused to do anything to change the pattern, even though I've repeatedly predicted disasters in their life forthcoming if they don't make a change or a turn. So with Donald Trump, him gaslighting MAGA is not part of his pattern. This is not part of his pattern. So as another video I made reflects, he's not talking to us, he's talking through us. And there's things that you can reliably predict that Democrats will seize upon. They sense a division in Trump's camp at the height of his popularity. They can't help but seize on that. This is something that they're not allowed to help. They can't in their mind, the brain, they can't help it. And part of elevating people based on your ability to compromise and control them, by definition, means that they're not highly intelligent people, because this is not something that highly intelligent people will generally accept. The people within that movement who are highly intelligent are usually in the background running things. Okay. When you're highly intelligent and confident, you don't feel like you need these kinds of things. Even if you're in a rigged system and there's some truth to it, you don't feel like you need it, and you would rather not be controlled by someone. And so it's certainly not someone that's less intelligent than you. So the intelligent people are behind the scenes, and a great deal of the people in both parties are useful idiots. I always thought of Ted Cruz as a generally smart guy, until Tucker Carlson started interviewing him about the war in Iran. And I'm not going to say that he's not still smart about the things that he's smart about. Ted Cruz is not exactly an establishment figure, but he is not the kind of persona non grata as some of the other people that I've seen. And the thing with Ted Cruz is that I honestly have never seen him look dumb like that before. It wasn't just about not, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to end this video because it's getting kind of long for what I intended. I believe that when you're an intelligent person, you are